So what is happening in the Best Actor race? Hi, it's Brian. This is the awards contender, and in today's video, I'm giving you my early Oscar predictions for Best Actor. Here we go. So I would say this category is a little bit easier to predict than Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress. Those two categories are kind of chaotic right now, like especially Supporting Actress. We don't really know how that's going to shake out. Anyone who can successfully predict Best Supporting Actress right now in November, I applaud you, because that category is kind of all over the place, especially when Lily Gladstone announced she was campaigning for lead actress. I will, of course, have my Best Actress predictions video for you shortly. Today we're talking Best Actor. Now this isn't as easy to predict as Best Supporting Actor. I do think that category is looking pretty sewn up at this point. Like, there's room for a surprise in that 5th place slot, but I do think Willem Dafoe has a very good shot of getting in for Poor Things. I don't really know if we're going to get a big surprise in Best Supporting Actor, and I kind of feel the same way with Best Actor. I would say since July, August, we've had a pretty good sense of how this category is going to go down. Now, there is one person who for months now has been floated around as a frontrunner, as a lock, and I'm not so sure he's going to make it in. I mean, he does still have a very good chance, but as I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes, I'm not predicting him to make it into the final 5. Now, who are the locks? Who are the men who are definitely getting into Best Actor? I am going to say, at this point in time, in early November, there are 2 people who are 100% for sure getting in. The first one is Killian Murphy for Oppenheimer. Now that is something that makes me very happy to say, because Killian Murphy has been bringing it as an actor for more than 2 decades. I've always loved him as a performer. Doesn't matter the genre, doesn't matter how big or small his role is. Killian Murphy is a fantastic actor, and I'm so happy that Christopher Nolan gave him this opportunity of a lifetime to play the lead role in Oppenheimer. So much about the Oscars is about opportunity. Like, you can be the greatest actor, but if you don't get those opportunities to shine in a great movie, in a great role, sometimes the Oscar eludes you for years, for decades. Killian Murphy is one of those guys who is consistently putting in good work, but not always in the best movies. Sometimes the roles are really small, and so it just has never happened for him, but there is no doubting he is getting in for Oppenheimer, and right now I would say he is definitely close to being the front runner to win. Now, the one thing I feel like might hold him back is that this is his first nomination, so there's not going to be that overdue narrative. His role in Oppenheimer is not like intensely flashy by any means, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to predict him to win yet, but he's definitely in the top 2, and he is definitely getting his first Oscar nomination. The second person I would call a lock right now, even though I have not seen the movie, but I've heard great things, and he's someone the Academy adores, and this might finally be his moment, the time the Academy gives him an Oscar win, Bradley Cooper in Maestro. I just feel like this one checks off all the boxes. It's a physical transformation, he's playing a real-life person, he's acting with the talented, Oscar-nominated Carey Mulligan, he directed the movie, it premiered at Venice, and he has been nominated at the Oscars over and over and over again. It's kind of crazy to think he has not won anything yet, and that's going to be in the minds of voters if they're coming down to Killian Murphy for Oppenheimer and Bradley Cooper for Maestro. I do think because Cooper has so many nominations going back about a decade now, it might be a close race, but I'm feeling right now Cooper might edge Murphy out. We'll see how things play out in the next few months at like the Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and SAG. But I just don't see how Bradley Cooper misses in the Best Actor category for Maestro. He might not make it into Best Director, but I feel pretty good that Maestro will get into Best Picture, since there are 10 nominees there. And then Carey Mulligan probably getting into Best Actress, and the film will get some technical nominations. Like, I'm feeling pretty good at this moment that Bradley Cooper might win. the Oscar for Best Actor, so he's also definitely getting in. Alright, next up are two people that are very close to being locks. I wouldn't call them that yet. There is a small possibility either one could miss, but I'm feeling pretty good that they're going to make the final five. The first one is Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, I was shocked this morning when I went on some of the Oscar prediction websites, and two of them had DiCaprio in 6th place. I was like, what? Like, up until the last couple weeks, it was looking pretty good that DiCaprio would get in, and I still feel that way. Like, even though Killers of the Flower Moon hasn't exactly set the box office on fire, I don't think anyone expected that movie to pull, like, Oppenheimer numbers, so I don't think that's going to affect his chances. Most of the reviews of the film are very strong, and it looks very likely Killers of the Flower Moon will get into Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress for Lily Gladstone, and Best Supporting Actor for Robert De Niro. So that would be really weird to me if DiCaprio missed in Best Actor. I mean, not only does the Academy love him, he gets nominated for almost all of his performances as of late, but he's also in almost every scene of Killers of the Flower Moon for 3.5 hours. It is a physical transformation. He's got lots of big emotional moments in the film. It's a big character that he does great things with. So I'm pretty sure he's getting in. I mean, the only performance he's given on film since The Great Gatsby, a decade ago, that did not get an Oscar nomination, was his last one for Don't Look Up. But that was a very competitive year for Best Actor, and that movie was very divisive. A lot of people didn't like it, so that one didn't come as a surprise to me. Like I said, the Academy loves DiCaprio. Killers of the Flower Moon is going to get nominations all over the place. So I feel pretty good, like 99.7% DiCaprio is getting in. I don't think he's going to win anything this season, but I would be surprised if he misses anywhere. He's probably getting in to the precursors, and I'm definitely predicting him to get in for Best Actor at the Oscars. And then the other person I'm feeling better about with each passing week now that the film is finally coming out, and almost everything I've seen online is a giant love fest for this wonderful film, Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers. I mean, a few weeks ago, Giamatti was also on a bunch of prediction lists I looked at online in 6th place. And unlike DiCaprio, I do think Giamatti is vulnerable. I could see a reality where The Holdovers gets into Best Picture, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay, maybe even Best Director, but Giamatti misses. He gets like 6th place, just doesn't quite make it in. We can never be fully confident in a Giamatti performance in an Alexander Payne film getting into the Oscars, because pretty much everybody back in early 2005 was pretty sure Giamatti was getting into Best Actor for Sideways, and just unbelievably, he missed for that wonderful performance. I think Giamatti gives a performance in The Holdovers that is at the level of his work in Sideways. This is one of his very best performances, and I just keep thinking, in a season where we have a lot of darker material, dark movies, The Holdovers is the light, is the more at times comedic, lighthearted film that the Academy is going to embrace. And even though there is that Sideways snub from many years ago, that gives me a little pause. I just feel like he has a chance to win at the Golden Globes in Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Comedy, or Musical. That is, unless Maestro counts as a comedy or musical, that might be the case. Like, Giamatti is such a talented actor, and he's only gotten that one Oscar nomination in Best Supporting Actor for Cinderella Man in 2006. I definitely feel more confident about DiCaprio getting in than Giamatti, but the more I think about it, like as the weeks go on, I do feel pretty good that Giamatti is going to get the 4th or 5th place slot in Best Actor. I think he deserves it. It is a wonderful performance. Except for Sideways, ironically enough, Alexander Payne movies do very well in the Best Actor category at the Oscars. Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt, George Clooney for The Descendants, Bruce Dern for Nebraska. Like, I'm feeling confident. I think Giamatti will make it. Okay, so that takes us to the 5th and final slot for Best Actor. I do think there are 3 men fighting it out for that 5th slot. I'll talk about them in a moment. First off, are there any other people in the season that I'm hoping might get into Best Actor who might have an outside shot of surprising us? I would say one potential surprise is Anthony Hopkins for Freud's Last Session. This is a movie I know very little about. It premiered at AFI, I think. Hopkins has had quite the film festival season this year. First, he's in One Life at Toronto. That film was pushed to 2024, but he got rave reviews for that. And then there's Freud's Last Session that is coming out at the very end of 2023. I think it's getting a limited release in late December. Anthony Hopkins is another actor the Academy adores, and even though he just won Best Actor a couple years back for The Father, I don't think his time at the Academy Awards is over. Hopkins is in his 80s, still doing amazing work in one film after another. So if there is vulnerability for some of these contenders for that 5th place slot, Hopkins could absolutely surprise on Oscar nominations morning. Watch out. There's Adam Driver in Ferrari. I do think Penelope Cruz is probably going to get into Best Supporting Actress, but that might be the only nomination that film gets in the top 8 categories. I don't think Adam Driver can get in for that movie. Driver might get into the Golden Globes. We'll see what happens there. We have to keep his name in the conversation because he has received 2 Oscar nominations in recent years, but I would say it's almost a 0% chance Driver gets into the Oscars for Ferrari. Same thing with Matt Damon for Air. This is a film I've talked about in a lot of these prediction videos. One of my big head scratchers going into award season is how well Air is going to do. Like, I could see it overperforming. I could see it showing up nowhere. I feel like it's going to play a role because it is a strong film. Viola Davis giving an Oscar-worthy performance. I think she's wonderful in the movie, and Matt Damon is also fantastic. But again, because Best Actor is so competitive, like, I could see Damon getting into the Golden Globes in musical or comedy, if that's where they put Air, but I don't think he can make it into the Oscars. I've seen Nicolas Cage's name for Dream Scenario on some prediction lists, like in 7th or 8th place. I just feel like that movie is too small. It's not going to get enough traction. If it shows up anywhere on Oscar nominations morning, it's going to be an original screenplay. That's the one category. It's kind of open right now. That could maybe happen if there's enough love for this movie. Nicolas Cage is, of course, an Oscar-winning actor. I love both of his nominations. That nod for adaptation is an all-timer. It's fantastic. I would love to see the Academy embrace Cage for another performance at some point. That would be really cool, but I don't think it's going to happen for Dream Scenario. I really admired the performance of Christian Friedel in The Zone of Interest. That was a performance I found to be very haunting. I've seen Sandra Hüller's name come up as a potential nominee in Best Supporting Actress for The Zone of Interest. That could happen because Supporting Actress is so much more open right now. She could slip in there and potentially be a 2-time Oscar nominee in a few months. But the performance from The Zone of Interest that has stuck with me the most is Friedel. Like, his final scene in that movie, the last time we see him, is quite something. And I feel like if The Zone of Interest were to overperform at the Academy Awards to an incredible degree, it gets into Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actress, I would not count out Christian Friedel for Best Actor. That could happen. I would be surprised if that happened, to be sure, but I'm not counting it out. He is an excellent actor giving an amazing performance in that film. And then I would say the biggest question mark in the field right now here in early November is Joaquin Phoenix in Napoleon. This is one of the last big awards contender movies that, as of this recording, nobody's seen yet. I have not seen a review. Like, this movie could be a mess. It could come and go. I don't know. But Joaquin Phoenix, 4 Oscar nominations. He just won for Joker a few years ago. We can never count him out. He gave a brilliant performance in Beau's Afraid earlier this year. Recognizing him for Napoleon could be a way to recognize him for both performances. He was nominated for another Ridley Scott movie, Gladiator, a while back. So it's kind of up in the air right now. I feel like if somebody from that cast were to get in, Vanessa Kirby makes more sense because Supporting Actress, as I've talked about, has the potential for some big surprises. So we'll see. We'll see what the reaction is to Napoleon. It's coming out Thanksgiving week. I'm excited to see it. I will always give like Joaquin Phoenix and Ridley Scott a chance. But yeah, right now I don't see Phoenix getting in. And then now's the time for my hope diction. 2 performances that I love. The first one is TOU for Past Lives. As I've talked about in a couple other prediction videos, I am very nervous when it comes to Past Lives, my favorite film of 2023, how well it's going to do at the Oscars. I think original screenplay is pretty safe. I think it gets in there 100%, and I do think it's probably getting into Best Picture. Now, if one person from this cast makes it into the Oscars, I do think it's Greta Lee for Best Actress. Her performance really sticks with you for many days after watching the film, but I think TOU is right at her level. It is such a sweet, quiet, natural performance. I loved him in this. I don't think he has a chance in hell of getting in at the Oscars, but I would love to see him show up somewhere this award season. I do think that performance deserves to be recognized. And then the other person I would love to see get in somewhere this award season is BarryKe Hogan in Saltburn. What a wild, dazzling, spectacular performance he gives in this movie. He would definitely get my vote as one of the 5 Best Actor Oscar nominees. I think he's that good. He was just nominated in Supporting Actor for The Banshees of Inisherin, so the Academy is like open to nominating him. And I can't imagine people walking out of Saltburn being like, BarryKe Hogan, he was okay. Like, he's doing amazing work in this movie. It's a very complex performance, and he has to go to some crazy, dark places that you will not expect. And I just think it's one of the most memorable performances by anyone of 2023. It would feel weird to me if that performance is not recognized anywhere along the way. Like, already here in early November, I've given up hope that BarryKe Hogan has a chance of getting into the Oscars for Saltburn, but I would love to see him get a nomination somewhere along the way. That would be awesome. Alright, so that takes me to the final 3 men I'm going to talk about here. The 3 guys who have the best chance of getting that 5th place slot in Best Actor at the Oscars. The ones who are hovering around 5th place are Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction, Andrew Scott in All of Us Strangers, and Coleman Domingo in Rustin. Now, if you had asked me a month ago, I would have said that Coleman Domingo was a lock to get into the Oscars for Best Actor. He is the one I mentioned at the beginning of this video as someone who could maybe miss, not because he gives a bad performance. His performance in Rustin is incredible. It is one of the great performances of the year, I think. But as we get closer to award season, I'm getting kind of a Danielle Deadwyler vibe with Coleman Domingo. I'm a little nervous because the movie Rustin itself is just okay. And that's also what I'm hearing from a lot of other critics. I just watched a couple reviews of Rustin this morning. All the critics liked the movie, they didn't love it, they gave lots of notices to Domingo, but the film around him does have some issues. And that was the case for Till last year. Danielle Deadwyler gives this amazing performance in that movie that this time, a year ago, we were all like, she is definitely getting in. Like, there was no way Deadwyler was missing for that performance, and she missed. I feel like if Rustin was a better film, Coleman Domingo would be a lock, but because the movie is only so-so, and because I don't see it getting into any other category, like maybe it can get into a tech category, but like if we're just counting on the Domingo performance for Best Actor and nothing else with that movie, that's where we enter the danger zone. That's where I get nervous. That's why, for example, making this list today, I was like, Giamatti does have a better chance of getting in over Domingo because The Holdovers is going to get a ton of nominations, whereas Rustin, I don't think that movie gets into anywhere else than Best Actor. So, I mean, I really want to include him. It is one of my 5 to 10 favorite performances I've seen in a movie this year. He is bringing it. It is such a beautiful turn that Domingo gives in Rustin. I want him to get in. And it's an historical drama. He's playing a real life figure. I mean, there's a lot going for him. So if he does show up on Oscar nominations morning, I'm going to feel kind of stupid for not predicting him here. But as of this moment, I am dropping him. I think he is in 6th place. And I think Domingo is going to be the Danielle Deadweiler of this award season. He's going to get nominations at some of the precursors. I could see him getting in at Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and even SAG, but then he misses on Oscar nominations morning because there's just not enough love for the movie Rustin itself. And so that's what I'm feeling right now. Again, I want him to get in. This is not a knock against him in any way, but this is a predictions video, and I don't know, guys. I just don't think Domingo is going to make it. The other actor I think who could surprise is Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers. This is one of the best films of the year, and the best performance in the movie is Andrew Scott. He took my breath away. It is such an emotional, nuanced performance. So much of this movie would potentially crumble, I think, without the beauty of that Andrew Scott turn in the lead role. He is devastating in this. I would love to see him get in. I would say, as of now, Domingo is a little bit above him. I think Domingo is in 6th, and I think Scott is in 7th. The movie hasn't come out yet. We'll see how it does. We'll see if it shows up in the precursors. I hope even if he doesn't get into the Oscars, we do see a really cool nomination or two in the precursors for Andrew Scott. And so that takes me to the final person to discuss a movie I have not seen yet, but I have heard nothing but rave reviews. I have heard this is a great film, and it is one of the great Jeffrey Wright performances. I feel like, as of this moment in early November, Jeffrey Wright is going to get the 5th place slot at the Oscars in Best Actor for American Fiction. Jeffrey Wright is, like Killian Murphy, a fantastic actor who's been doing consistently great work going back decades, who has never been recognized at the Oscars. I feel like the quality of the movie itself, the fact that American Fiction has a very good shot of getting into Best Picture, probably gets into adapted screenplay as well, because Rustin is not quite at the level of the quality of American Fiction. I feel like Jeffrey Wright has a better chance of getting into Best Actor. I mean, this is a guy we all adore. I'm sure many people just assume he's been Oscar nominated for something, and he hasn't. So that would be a really cool first-time nomination for Jeffrey Wright. I do think it's very well possible Wright misses and Coleman Domingo takes that slot. It's kind of going to depend on the next few months, what happens at the precursors. I mean, I could even see Giamatti missing for the holdovers, and we get Coleman Domingo and Jeffrey Wright in those last 2 slots. That could happen too. But right now I feel like Giamatti is going to make it in for the holdovers, and that Jeffrey Wright is finally going to get his first Oscar nomination for American Fiction. My early Oscar predictions for Best Actor are Killian Murphy, Oppenheimer, Bradley Cooper, Maestro, Leonardo DiCaprio, Killers of the Flower Moon, Paul Giamatti, The Holdovers, and Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let me know in the comments below who you think will be nominated for Best Actor at the 96th Academy Awards. And stay tuned in the coming days for my early Oscar predictions for Best Actress. We'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.